Here we are. We are live. I've already insulted our guest once. That's
No,
a good way to
twice, because
start.
there was an echo. You insulted me, and then the echo insulted me.
Yeah.
So, we were supposed to. So originally, we had talked about getting all three.
Yeah.
Then it whittled down to two. Now we're at one. I'm glad we got one.
Oh yeah, we're so grateful for you to take the time and come on and talk to us.
Yes.
No, it's super nice of you guys. I love talking to you on social media, and it's great to be here talking to you. Sorry the other two couldn't make it. Everything's just completely crazy, which is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah, so they take their filmmaking very seriously. They decided instead of killing our character just in film, let's try to kill our character for real.
Nah,
No.
no real life killing.
Yeah, that's the thing is we don't want to kill anybody. We love
Yeah.
our beauty because we work with our friends, and
Yeah.
and today was a crazy day. It's so cold up in the Catskills that we were shooting some stuff, and it was just like, okay, this has to stop. It's too cold. We're used to it. We love it, but city people, they don't love it so much.
Yeah.
So this is actually going to prompt my first question. On the channel, we actually wing everything. I didn't write down shit because that's just how we do things. But that actually makes me think of a question, because you are a horror fan like us, but you are one step even further than that. You're a filmmaker in the genre. And I'm assuming that's what you do for a living now. Have you done enough that this is what you can do for a living?
It is. We're super lucky
That's
that way.
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yay.
That's fantastic.
Thanks.
So in doing this for a living now, and you talk to people and you have friends, obviously, and you talk to new people and family and whatever, and you make these movies, what's the kind of response that you get? Because we joked about like you trying to kill someone on set, and then your response is kind of the opposite of what a lot of people think of us in the horror community, that we're like sick psychos and we get off on murder. And then when they meet us and they talk to us, they're like very surprised by how like empathetic and sweet and nice we actually are. And I always try to remind them, like, no, most people in the horror community are like very like, they're pacifists a lot of the times. They're very like anti-war, anti-death, anti like violence. Like it's the exact opposite of what you would think. So like, what is that for you, and how do you have an experience with people that you meet or know telling them about like, no, I'm not actually like a psycho?
Well, I am a psycho, but
Yeah.
I'm a nice psycho. Like, no,
I mean, there's that answer too.
Yeah, I'm a complete psycho, but the horror community is the most inclusive, loving, open-minded group of people I know, and we know. And the Addams family, that's Lulu, Toby, Zelda, and me.
Yeah.
When we were invited into the horror community with our first horror movie, we fell in love. We fell in love with the kind of like genuine humanity of the horror crowd. And I think that it's funny when people say, why do you make horror movies? And the real answer is because it's fun. But the deeper answer is because you can talk about heavy concepts, but disguise them in blood. And that brings the kind of the end to, at least my answer to that question is, the horror crowd is super film educated and often super life educated. Like we find that at least the people that like our movies are generally outsiders, and we're outsiders. We're outsiders in so many ways, and we're not sad about that. We're quite happy that we've always been outsiders. So we're having a conversation with people that we really relate with.
Yeah. And you get pushback from family, friends for making this type of stuff?
Again, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be honest. Like I've always been a bit. I think people have always thought I've been a bit of a, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
So no, I think that my family's like, holy shit, that lunatic like figured out a way to channel his lunacy into something really beautiful. And so no, I don't think I do get pushback. I think like my town really likes my family because we use everybody. You know, if somebody says, "Can I be in your horror movie?" We say, "Yeah, can we kill you?" And they, "Oh, I'd love to be killed," and we kill them. And so no, we don't get. I wouldn't call it pushback. I'd call it kind of nice love. My family and my community love us, and we love them back.
That's so wonderful. I love that you guys make your films, you know, as a family
Yeah.
and with your friends. Were you like, I guess what I'm curious about too is, were you always interested in making films and acting and directing and all of that, or how did that kind of start for you guys?
Okay, so Toby was an actress since
Mm.
she was a kid.
Mhm.
Zelda and Lulu were also actresses as kids. They loved acting. Me, no, I still don't like acting at all. I act because it's easy to boss myself around and my rates are good. But uh you know, it's funny the way we became a filmmaking family was more, I'm going to use a word that I'm not sure is right, but I think it is serendipitous.
Okay.
Mhm.
That means like it kind of happened, right?
Yeah, like it was like a happy accident almost.
Okay, then I used it right. It was serendipitous because Toby was always an actress. She did well, but as she got older, the roles kind of dried up because
Mm.
generally speaking, it seems that like Hollywood and the industry, I don't know, don't really find the what we think is the beauty of age. And
Mhm.
so as the roles dried up, we weren't sure what to do, and she always wrote, and I said, Toby, you should just write a script and we should film it, because I was on a TV show in Los Angeles, and I was really interested in the production part of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I said to Toby, I think that like from talking to the guys and the girls on set who are running the cameras and the mics, I think we could do this. Technology by
Yeah.
the year 2010 when we started had kind of allowed amateurs like us to give it a
Mhm.
shot. So Toby wrote a script, and we lived in an RV for a year, and we filmed our first movie.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, I was just looking on IMDb at like the older films, the ones that I haven't seen, because I obviously haven't seen all of your movies. And I saw, I don't remember the name of it now, but the one with the like the photos are in the RV, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. I wonder if that was their home. So yeah.
we lived in that for a year. The kids wanted to be actresses,
Oh.
so and Toby wrote this really nice script, and I got to learn how to shoot and edit. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. It wasn't a horror movie. It started out as a horror movie, but I was supposed to kill the kids in the movie, and they were going to become
Mhm.
ghosts. But our trip was going so well. When it came time to kill the kids, I was like, I don't really want to kill the kids. Maybe let's change the script a little. So we changed it.
Oh.
So if the vacation was going worse, the
Right.
movie would have been much different.
A
You're like,
bloodbath.
why are the scenes just so violent towards the kids now? Jesus, originally you were just supposed to drown them.
How many times is this guy going to kill his
Right.
kids?
You keep resurrecting them to kill them again.
Yeah, no, and what was great was we were accepted like in some festivals, and we were
Mhm.
encouraged. Now looking back, it's filled with, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, but that is why we were able to accomplish what we did, because we didn't know we were so far in over our heads.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. When I mean, so you and Toby met how long ago?
So let's see, my daughter is 20, Lulu's 25, and I had known Toby like almost 2 years before we had her. So 27 years ago we met.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And so when you guys were originally conceiving your films and deciding let's do this as a family and making that decision, when you went to put your names down, I'm assuming you had the conversation of like, we're going to be known as. the Addams Family. You didn't like, was there a conversation about that at all to where you were like, well, maybe we should just go by like a film by John Adams and Toby Poser, as opposed to like being known as like, because obviously if I tell people, I immediately have to be like, not that Addams Family. You know, is there that
100%.
conversation? I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
look,
but let's be real, your wife's the total poser. She's not a real Addams.
you know, that's the thing, is at least our names are just so ridiculous. You
Yeah.
know, it's like the first, like when I first, Toby, you know, when I was like, what's your last name? You know, on maybe our second date or something like that.
Yeah.
She was like, Poser. And I was like, oh my God, that's so great. No, really, what is your last name? And she's like, that's my fucking my
Yeah.
last name. I was like, oh my God.
She's
Can
like,
we
no,
have
I'm a
third-
literal
Can we please have
poser.
a third date, you know? So, you know, it's funny that, again, it just is the way life works. I don't know. We just suddenly became the Addams Family. No, we never talked about it. It became quite funny, you know, because we make horror. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it just is. It's almost ridiculous, but it's almost so ridiculous that it's not ridiculous. I don't know if that makes sense, but it does a full circle, and now we're known as the Addams Family, and Toby likes it. At first, she was like, "That's bullshit. Like, I'm a poser. I'm not an Addams, you know." And I'm like, "Yeah, but the only thing is, there's 3 Addams and 1 poser. So I mean,
Yeah.
what are they gonna do? Addams 0.3? I mean, it's like, you know."
Did she ever think about like changing her name for like a screen name of Addams?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting question.
Actually, so my state, like I was in punk bands, and my name in all the punk bands was John Law. And so it for a little while we were thinking it would be Toby Law and John Law, because that way we both give up
Yeah.
our names. But I don't know why we just it actually just turned into the Addams Family. And for a second there, it was like we weren't so sure how much we liked it, but it was not going to go away.
If your name was Law, her last name should have then been Order. That would have been good, especially since she was on 3 different Law and Order shows.
Or better yet, it should be Breaking'.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's even better. I love that it's the Addams Family too, because it's like, you know, the film like kooky, and I think that's endearing and like charming too, because I don't know. I think it fits. It fits in a really fun way.
And obviously the spelling is different, so you have that at least.
Yeah.
We have the little bit of the different spelling, but we are kooky, and it's become great, and it's sweet. It's nice. People are nice. People are really nice about it, and so we enjoy it.
So you said you were in punk bands, and I know that you guys do all the music in the films. Yeah. Which, especially in this last one, I loved the music. I thought it was so amazing. So I guess, like, can you talk about that, like your experience in the music scene and, you know, how that developed with all you guys? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You know, I grew up in punk rock. I was really into hardcore. I always wanted to be in a band, but I always got kicked out of every band because I didn't know how to play an instrument. And so finally I got a bass. So I started to learn. I still got kicked out of a lot of bands until things started to work out. And I was in a bunch of bands out of New York City. And but when the kids arrived, you know, couch surfing and floor sleeping and living on the road wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be around my kids. And they, at a very young age, both wanted to be in a band with me because they had grown up around it. And so my first band was with Lulu, and that was called the Hot Roses. And we played in New York City because that's where we lived at the time. And we played a lot of shows. And Lulu was really funny because she never wanted to practice. She only just wanted to show up and just sing off the top of her head. And I'll tell you what, it was, people started showing up because it was so crazy hearing what was coming out of this kid's mouth and out of her brain. And so it became this little act, and we started to actually have a little following. People came to watch the Hot Roses. And then one day, Lulu said, I quit. And I was like, why? And she was like, I don't know. I don't really like it. These people are weird. And I was like, oh my God, of course they're weird. I mean,
Yeah.
Lulu, you're 4, you know? No, at that time she was like 7, because Zelda was like, well, if Lulu's gonna quit, I want to be in a band with Dad. And so then Zelda got in the band, and then she started playing drums, and then we really played for a long time, and we were called Kid California. And that eventually morphed into what we are now, which is Hellbender, because Lulu kind of wanted to come back, and then Toby was like, I don't want to be left out. And so we just became Hellbender. And then we were in California shooting a little video for Hellbender, and it was so beautiful and so fun that we were like, you know what? Maybe we should make a whole movie about what a hellbender is, which we
Yeah.
didn't know what the hell a hellbender was. But we were like, we should make up something. And that's where Hellbender happened.
So is Hellbender the first one you did the music for?
No, I've done the music for all of them, but
Okay.
Hellbender's the first one where the 4 of us were in the band. Like, we were just doing our music, and we were like, let's, you know, we're Hellbender. Let's just do Hellbender music. So, the last 2 movies, Hellbender and Where the Devil Roams, are just the 4 of us doing music for the movies.
So being a family and, you know, doing film that way, it seems like a lot of it is predicated off of like your experiences together in your life. Like, oh, the kids are acting good, let's not kill them in the movie. Oh, we got a band called Hellbender, let's make a movie off that. It's kind of like back in the day when studios were creating posters, kind of like Friday the 13th, right? Like the Sean S. Cunningham, he took out an ad in a paper for Friday the 13th. Didn't have a concept, didn't have a script, didn't have anything. Was just like, Halloween did well, I'm gonna rip it off. And what else can I do? Friday the 13th. And he put out this ad, and then he was like, oh shit, I need a movie.
Yeah.
I gotta go make that real quick. So Hellbender, yeah, is just like, oh, it's this is the name of our band, and then that is like the template,
like the inspiration,
the
for the
blueprint,
film,
for like how you make a movie. Is just off the title of a band, which is kind of wild.
And then add in that basically all of our movies are kind of, they're documentaries about where we are as a family. Like, if you talk about Hellbender, you know, Lulu had already gone off to college, and Zelda was 14, you know, going on 19 or 20 or whatever. She was becoming a woman, and that's what that movie's about. And it's easy to like again, like, we do like to take what's going on with our life and talk about it, talk about the issues, the moral issues, the emotional issues, the spiritual issues, and then cover them in blood, so that it's fun to talk about, and easier to talk about, and entertaining, instead of like a slow burn drama where you're like, oh my God, like this is too close to my life, you know? So
yeah.
So what was going on in your life during The Deeper You Dig? Because that movie, you did kill your daughter.
Actually, I mean, like, there is a serious answer to it. When your kid is like 11 and 12, you worry about them a lot, because they are striking out on their own. They are going sledding on their own. They are like walking home from soccer practice alone.
Sure.
They're starting to actually be alone. And you, as a parent, you have to allow them to do that. So when they're 16, they're streetwise, right? So it's a dangerous little time where, when they're alone, you worry and worry and worry. And then they get home and you're like, oh my God, I'm glad, like that went well. Another day went well. And that's what that's about. It's about your kid, your kind of innocent kid evaporating, and you being like, holy shit, what happened? You know, and as a parent, it's almost emotionally like healthy to explore those issues. You know, at least for some of us it is. And it's like, and so just, you know, for Toby it was an interesting concept, and then I obviously had to play the guilty, terrible person.
Yeah.
And so for me it was more about the exploration of making a huge mistake. And that again can relate to the family, because there was a time when I had drug problems and alcohol problems, and I could have hurt or killed somebody. And and that's what that movie's about. It's about guilt, and it's about, I'm in my character, it's about guilt and regret, and also comeuppance, you know and Zelda's part of the Deep You Dig, she was like, I don't want to be some scary ghost that looks like a skeleton that like jumps up and goes boo. I want to be like a ghost that totally fucks with somebody, like fucks with her murderer. And so all of us got to explore kind of an emotional idea that we found interesting individually.
When you guys, because you write and direct together, so what does that process look like? I'm always confused when people are like, yeah, we co-wrote this. Like, how did you like write a script and hand it off to the next person, they make some edits, or what's that look like?
It's really fun. It looks like us having a lot of conversations. Like we always have 4 to 5 ideas that we're bouncing around. Like, ooh, here's an idea. And if it's good, it stays around in the conversation, like over dinner or going to soccer practice or on walks. Like the good ideas stay around. They get bantered about. And then when it comes time to hit the go button, we kind of hit the go button. Well, like on Hellbender, we hit the go button because a couple things came together. We knew we wanted to make a story about a mother and daughter, and then we saw this video that we had made. So it kind of just goes like, what hits the hot burner when it's time to go. And then shooting wise, like I'm not a very good reader or writer, so to be honest, Tubi will either write a treatment. Sometimes she'll write a script, but neither Zelda nor I can really memorize things. So it's more about like understanding what we want to accomplish in a scene. And then you go.
Trying to sabotage us. Sorry.
Oh no, that's all good.
He's like, I'm gonna pull out all the plugs right now.
Yeah.
Come here.
He unplugged my computer once while I was live.
Show him. Guilty.
Yeah, the guilty pup. Yeah.
Good. I like a punk dog.
Yeah, he's skunk rock.
Oh, that's great.
Bag it up.
Well, anyway, yeah, just to wrap it up, when we're on set, everybody gets to direct. So we take 3. If we don't agree on something, we never argue about it. We're just like, okay, let's shoot Zelda's way, then we'll shoot Toby's way, then we'll shoot my way, then we'll go home, we'll look at it, and the winner wins. And it's not. Nobody ever argues about it because you can always tell in the editing bay which one wins.
Okay.
So obviously the main trio here are the aforementioned family members. Lulu has a much like smaller role typically in your efforts. Is it that she's not as interested? Is it that she's busier? Like, why is Lulu not as involved as Zelda and your wife?
Yeah, that it's simply because we never tell anybody what to do. Obviously, that's terrible. So we always ask, hey, we're going to do this. Who wants to do it? Early on, Lulu was like, oh, I want to do it. So she did the first 2 movies. And then the next one, she was like, I don't really want to do that one. And then, so she's kind of she picks and chooses which one she wants to be a part of. She also picks and chooses what she wants to do. Sometimes she's like, I just want to do the sound, or I just want to film. But mostly the last 2 movies, she wanted to be as much a part of as she was, but she lived in Portland for Hellbender. So we drove all the way out to Portland so that she could be in the film, actually. And because she was in college. So we drove out to Portland and we filmed with her. And then she was in Korea for Where the Devil Roams, but she came home for the summer. And so we filmed her over the summer for her role where she chops up some people. So, but Lulu's really interesting. She's so cool. Like our main goal as parents is just to let the kids do whatever the hell they fucking want to do, to run their own show and to be completely independent. So she's just honest about when she wants to be a part of something and when she doesn't, and we just listen to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 daughters as well, so
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah,
Mine,
it's great.
they're younger. They're
They're
almost
10,
11.
almost 11. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun.
so we're not there 100% yet, but I mean, we're definitely inspired by your family because we both absolutely
twins?
want to make.
They
Yeah,
are.
they
They are twins.
Identical.
Yep.
We can play with that.
I know.
Oh my god! I already got some ideas. Let's go. Where do you live? We'll bring it out.
Collaboration time.
Yeah. So I also have a question too, because like we said, we're very inspired by your guys' films, and like as small filmmakers, do you have advice or anything that you would like tell your younger self, kind of a thing, about making films?
Actually, I would tell my younger self the exact same thing that my younger self did, which is just do it, don't think about it, go. And
Just go.
just go and do it. Make a ton of mistakes, but don't be scared of them. Like never wait, never ask permission, never wait on a permit, nothing like that. Because it's like, you have to do it. Like even like today we were shooting, and it's like, today I was shooting some stuff that I've already shot 3 times with this same actor. And I made mistakes on the first 2 times. And that's okay, because I got home, I edited it, I saw my mistakes. I called him up. I said, "Can you do it again?" He said, "Yes." We shot it. I made more mistakes. I looked at it. I called him up. Today I didn't make any of those mistakes, and now I have a really beautiful scene.
But this
and
is the one that almost killed him.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It got colder and colder and colder. And maybe that's the lesson too, is when it gets so fucking cold, nobody has time to fuck off, so everybody does their job.
We gotta nail this because we're gonna die
It's
if we're
so
out here
cold.
one
Could you
more
do
minute.
this right this time? You know what I mean? John, could you frame it right, please? Because it's really cold. No, I think it's the same in rock and roll, or I think all art there's a couple things that are too dangerous to do. One is you can't say, "Oh, somebody's already done that before, so I can't do it." Well, I mean, you know what I mean? Like every rock and roll song has an E in it. So
Yeah,
you're going to play an E. And the same with movies is you can't give yourself reasons not to do something, or I need money because I need money to do this. That's also I don't think a good,
it's an excuse.
A good sentence to have come out of your mouth, because it's like, if you need money and it's going to stop you from doing something, then rewrite the scene where you don't need money.
So I had a question that I was definitely wanting to ask after having watched your movie. We brought it up in the review. I know you guys watched that.
Oh yeah.
So unless this was a body double, you did do a nude scene, yes? That was you? Okay.
Body double.
I wouldn't think so. But you never know. You're like, hey, come on over. I need you for something.
And I had a casting for it where I saw,
So you did that scene. Were you in the same room as Zelda for that?
As Zelda, no. So the first time Zelda saw it was when it was in the final version, and and her boyfriend was with her, so it was like doubly embarrassing.
And she knew that was going to happen, obviously.
Oh yeah, no, she knew it was coming, and no, we all knew that that's how the movie had to end. There wasn't that's how the movie had to end.
Sure,
like just for art's sake.
I agree.
And yeah, I'm not a, it's art. It's impactful, and I love the last scene, and Zelda does too. Everybody loves it. It's like, and I understand we knew it was going to be a little shocking and a little like, what the fuck? And we knew we were also going to get that kind of question too, which is like, is that appropriate? And it's like, yeah, it's completely appropriate. It's fucking great art, or I'm not trying to say, I'm sorry, that sounds like I'm trying to say we did great art, but that scene had to end that way, whether it's, you know what I mean?
I just remember, I got into this is actually what ended my long-term relationship, not like with someone romantically, but with a horror group. I was in this horror group for maybe a year or so, and I had made a lot of friends, and I still retained a lot of them after, but I ended up leaving this group because we got into this big fight with these other idiots in there, and they were talking about Argento, and Argento does some films with his daughter Asha, and in a few of those films, Asha is nude, and in Stendhal syndrome, she's being raped and nude in the films. And people, they were kind of going off on Argento for being like a pervert for having filmed his daughter's rape scenes and his daughter's like sexual nude scenes. And I was like, well, number one, over in Italy, nudity to them is not what it is to us. It's not sexualized. Now, the sexual explicit nature of those scenes definitely makes it sexualized, but he's an artist and he sees, that she's the best one for this job or whatever. And so, we just kind of got in this back and forth, and I got such pushback to the point where I had to fucking leave because they got so aggressive about and like basically started calling me a pervert and even insinuated that I was molesting my kids.
Crazy.
And all sorts. I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it on the head, which is Europe has a much more open-minded and I think honest idea about what nudity is and what sexuality is, and there's a lot of taboos in America. It's very funny that America, home of the free, land of the brave, or is like so sexually
repressed.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so like I don't worry about that because I don't I'm
you don't subscribe to that.
I don't care, because it's silly to me. That's all. So it's kind of like it's kind of like some politics. Like I don't engage in people in politics once I see like, oh, this is just going to be an echo chamber of silliness. So and that's the way I feel about like sexuality and nudity and a lot of those issues. Is to me it's pretty obvious what the kind of the open-minded, non-judgmental viewpoint is on these subjects.
Yeah.
And those are mine, and I that's it. I'm not going to argue with people about them, and they don't have to watch our movie. It's very easy to turn it off.
Yeah. Definitely.
Did you get any shit over that at all by anybody?
Yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah.
I figured.
Yeah, no, we get shit, but dude, I mean, we get shit up by, that's not the only thing we get shit for. And my feeling about all that stuff is our intent as a family is mostly, believe it or not, about love. If you look at the core of all of our movies, they're more about love, and that's kind of, we love covering things in blood, that what can we say? And like that's what's so fun about horror. And I don't think you should jump into a horror movie or the horror genre if you're gonna be hung up or righteous about the kinds of things that you're talking about. Does that make sense? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's an interesting one because
I mean, I'm about to pull my dick out right now on the live stream.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You convinced me. Let's do this.
The next one's going to be completely naked. We'll see how open-minded I am then.
Yeah, but horror, like there's so much opportunity to explore really dark, human experiences and emotions, and even the non-dark ones, like you've been saying, like covering things in blood, I think is really a fun way to look at it. But it's like fantasy, and it's very dreamlike and nightmarish, and I think that sometimes like humans need those, like they need to see the symbolism for things to sink in or to like process things. So but yeah, being a little too sensitive about nudity or whatever, it's definitely hard to hold that kind of belief and then go into horror.
Yeah, and those subjects, like for example, you were saying Argento with a rape scene or something like that. Now I don't want to do those things are tricky because they make me feel uncomfortable. But those are real subjects, and they're subjects I think again, what's the reason I like horror and the reason I watch horror is because you can talk about taboo subjects or difficult subjects, whether they're emotional or physical or abusive or all those things. You can talk about them and they're slightly abstract. So it's much easier for a bunch of people to talk about them.
Mhm.
And I think that's, so I say, go for it, buddy. You know what I mean? I'm gonna watch
Mhm.
it. If I don't like it, like if a Serbian film or if or Martyrs or these kinds of films that are super extreme, I'm like, holy shit, this is a little heavy for me. That's fine,
Yeah.
but I do understand that's art, and I'm glad it's there.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause what works for one person might not work for everybody, of course, like all art, right?
Yeah,
So,
100%,
yeah.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have, like, any favorite or, like, inspirational films that you come back to often or,
Well,
anything like
I'm
that?
curious on your relationship with horror in general. I was going to ask
Mm.
Toby as well, of course, but I'm curious on, like, you gravitated towards horror. I would assume that's because you're a fan of the genre and have been. Most people don't do it consistently like this if they're not fans, and most
Mm.
people become fans young. At what age did you get into it, and what does inspire you, like she asked? Like, what's your relationship with horror in general?
Oh, I mean, horror affected me so much as a kid. Yeah, Phantasm, blew my socks off, and I didn't sleep for a year.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it couldn't stop thinking about the heavy concept of what it was talking about. And I was a kid, and it was bothersome, but also beautiful. And it had a
And to
silver
this
ball
day
that
you still
showed
haven't
up.
figured it out.
Even right, and even to this day, if you know what the hell that was all about, please tell me.
I don't. I have no idea.
But I loved King Kong. I loved Godzilla. I loved Dracula. Scared me. No, I've always been completely intrigued and scared of horror. Now as an adult, I'm more fascinated by like spiritual horror. Like I
Mm.
did you guys see Talk to Me or
Yeah.
Yeah.
did you see When
We
Evil
saw it.
Lurks?
We saw everything.
When Evil Lurks was both of our favorite favorite
Yeah.
film from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to
It's
interview the director. He was the last person I interviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's really cool
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah.
and like very mellow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always seems like when we interview people in the horror community or like actors, directors, whatever, they're always so mellow and chill. And it's really funny because it's like, we'll see them in some movie where it's like so intense and extreme.
Yeah. They're
And then
not
they're
streaming from their basement with
yeah.
fucking like dead bodies behind them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's so great. Especially him because When Evil Lurks is just so fucking dark.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. It
It's
is.
relentless. It's
Yes.
Yeah.
relentless. And I loved it because I was like, oh my God, there's no hope here. There's not
No.
Yeah.
one fucking ray of light.
No.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
one.
And I
Not
just
one.
loved it. So how about you guys? What's your favorite horror?
Well, before we get into that, what did you, because there is a lot of, because I'm assuming you and I are closest in age. And so we come from a generation where horror being shown to us as kids was much, much more acceptable than it is today. And it's weird because like my relationship with the horror community, and I've always talked about this, I always tell people like horror fans are created young.
Mm.
And if you talk to like horror fanatics, not just people who are like, yeah, I like horror movies, I'll watch them during the Halloween time. No, fucking fans that are like, this is my life's blood, every day of the fucking week. The one commonality that I've always found is that the stories of the genesis of their love for the genre is always started at a very young age, usually between the ages of 4 to 10. When you're like super impressionable. And nowadays, I'll like my daughter was in therapy recently for something, and we were in there and we were talking to the therapist, and mom was kind of on my case a little bit that I showed them scary things when I never showed them shit. I show them like Hunger Games. I show them like very easygoing stuff. I show them zero horror, and that's because I know how people are today and how much they'll get down on us. And I just wonder, like, how many like horror fans are we going to have left if those impressionable ages that created horror fanatics, if they're not really being shown them at those ages anymore? What age did you start showing, or did your kids start watching horror? Because mine, at still almost 11 years old, they've never seen anything.
Oh yeah, no, our kids were watching horror. We've always had a, well, it's an unorthodox way, but it's worked for us and we've enjoyed it. Is we always thought of our kids as our peers and as our friends, and we treated them as such. Obviously we were their parents and we protect them and all those kind of things, but that includes like, oh, I'm watching Exorcist. You want to watch it? It's fucking scary, and no, our kids watched movies very young, and they love horror and completely understand, the metaphors of it, and the fun, the entertainment of it. Why is a slasher? Why is a slow burn? All these things, like, because they started so young. I think Carrie was Zelda's first, and Lulu, what was hers? She watched maybe it was The Thing, but and those are two different types of movies, and so I don't know what's going to happen with the future of horror. I think horror is always here. I think it ebbs and flows.
Sure.
I think that, like, right now everybody wants to make a horror movie, like Hollywood wants to make horror movies, but then in 2 or 3 years Hollywood's going to say again, horror movies are stupid, they're for lowbrow people, and that's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever, go do whatever you're gonna do. I'm gonna keep watching these fun horror movies because they're fucking great.
I think Hollywood takes horror way more seriously right now. I do feel like the prestige of the genre is finally being recognized because of auteurs like Ari Aster and Robert Eggers, and you have these filmmakers that are being taken much more seriously by the Academy. Now we're still not getting nominations and such, of course, but I do think it is. And usually what happens with that, as far as like the collective consciousness goes towards the genre, it always seems to be like one thing brings it back to being taken seriously, and then one thing kind of like knocks it out. And it's like, you have the oversaturation of a genre. Like the 80s kind of killed horror for people. Like, as much as we horror fans love the 80s are what killed horror for the mainstream, because it got so saturated with slasher movies and gore fests. And while we horror fans love that shit, it's what people stop taking seriously. And if you look at the 70s with The Exorcist and The Omen and these movies that are like heralded as classics, and some of the great cinema of Jaws, and these like really highly respected directors like Spielberg and Friedkin, whatever, it is interesting that these eras of horror that we adore as horror fans are kind of the eras that kill the genre off, because because what always happens is that they have something that's duplicated but worse, right? So like the 30s brought in the Universal monsters and everyone thought those were so cool, and then you had these like lower brow directors that came in and just flooded the marketplace with monster ripoffs, and everyone was like, oh, these movies are getting stupid, I'm out. Right. Same thing happened with the slasher movies. And then now what kind of started happening was the supernatural tropes and found footage, right, would happen.
Oh yeah.
Where Paranormal Activity took off and got a lot of success. And so then the studios were flooding the theaters with these kind of like quick to market, let's just get them out as fast as we can. Some are good, some are not, but the audience got sick of the gimmick very quickly. It happened with the slashers, it happened with the found footage, it started kind of happening recently with like the Conjuring and stuff, where they started bringing in the supernatural, the ghost movie for PG-13 type audiences, even though the Conjuring is R, but Blumhouse started flooding the market with it. So it just always seems like there's something that works, and then somebody tries to profit off that by making a whole bunch of copy similar things of it, and then people get like, fuck that, and it takes like 10 years for the genre to recover before it's taken seriously again, which is such a shame. But I also, before we continue, there's this question here, and if you do have a question for John, please start writing them now so we can get to him before he checks out. But inspiration or deeper meaning for the stick sigil in Hellbender?
Yeah, I mean, that is all about it's a beautiful symbol because it's east, west, north, south. It's circular, and in the middle is an eye. So it's basically, the what we found interesting about the Hellbender. I mean, they use it as a spy, and it can go anywhere, and it can spy on anything. So it's like that's what's beautiful about it. But it was also a symbol for what we thought was interesting about what a Hellbender is that its nature is like it's an A predator. It's like, and it's built in its DNA, and it cannot be taken away. It's no matter what direction you go, you can never hide from it. That's why the young Hellbender becomes and wants to explore her true nature. And it's because inside of her true nature is saying, no, your mom's a liar. And it's time for you to explore your true nature. Even though you feel it's immoral, it's not, because it's your true nature. You're a shark. Don't be a tuna. You're a shark. Be a shark. And so that's what, the sigil, we spent around a lot of time thinking about it and having a lot of fun with it.
If you act like a tuna, you're gonna get canned.
It's 100%, and that's like the whole exactly. Okay, I'm gonna have to steal that.
He asked us what our relationship with horror is on the flip side. I mean, obviously, if you haven't seen the channel, we could probably talk about
we
that
love
for
horror.
about 6 trillion years straight.
Yeah.
No, but just tell me your first zinger.
I will say, well, it's not one thing, but lately it's because we've been watching a lot of Cronenberg. I've been really into body horror, like just things around body horror, specifically The Fly.
Great.
I'm like obsessed with that right now.
Where the Devil Roams has a lot of really great body horror.
Yeah.
I absolutely have a question about that specifically, but after this.
And then the other thing too that I've been hyper fixating right now on is David Lynch. And I've always loved his works like Twin Peaks, and I'm super into like surrealist horror. Like anytime we find a movie that's just like super weird, and definitely that's why like I think Where the Devil Roams was hit really well with me, because I think it's a really weird film, but in such a good way. So I love surrealism. Yeah.
Yeah, because
tell me another movie that you think surreal though. Like, because I love surreal too. Give me 2 more movies that you think are surreal.
So I think a film for you that would be a great film for you to watch. Actually, I'll give you 2 that I think would be great inspiration.
I was thinking.
Yeah, I think will be great inspiration for your filmmaking, because they are more indie films, and because they do kind of have a similar flavor to your style. One in particular, which we've actually compared to your films, and that's a movie called The Evil Within.
Oh yeah,
which
that's a great one.
What I think you'll find fascinating about it as a director, as as somebody who makes these things, is the story behind the making of the film, and the director being this he had a bunch of money. I can't remember why he had money, but he had millions of dollars, and he decided he wanted to make this film, but he was like a crack addict. And he started like filming this, and there's some pretty well-known actors in it, And they made this movie over years and years, but he kept like falling into addiction and like coming back out, and people would come back and they'd film it. And then he spent the rest, he was a young guy, and he spent the rest of his life editing this movie together for years alone in like an editing room. And it's so like, you can feel it when you watch it. There's this like darkness around it. And so it's like confusing and not, but it feels so jumbled and messy, but like not.
Yeah, it's really,
it's like somebody
really...
who's on drugs made it, and then he died before the film was even completed. So like a friend or something ended up finishing it. But when you watch that, it's got a very surreal edge to it. And I couldn't recommend that higher for someone like you, because I do feel like your especially your last one has a flavor of that film in it.
Awesome.
And I think you would
can't
love
wait to watch it.
And another movie would be Possum, which is another excellent surreal movie. Shepherd.
I was gonna say,
what are you gonna
actually
say?
There's a Japanese movie.
Oh, Hasu.
Yeah, House.
Yeah.
That's like
super great.
That's a super weird one.
I don't know any of these, so that's so fun.
Yeah, I think you'll really enjoy the Evil Within. House is one of the most bizarre movies you'll ever watch in your life.
It's very artsy and like colorful and psychedelic, but also kind of creepy. But
also in that one, that's another one where you're going to really want to look behind the scenes, because it's regarded a lot of the times by a lot of directors like Eli Roth and such as one of the most complex and complicated movies ever made, because there's so much going on in front of the camera, and how they made it is actually kind of astonishing. As bizarre and weird as the movie is, the way they were able to catch things in camera are actually kind of impossibly complicated.
Nice.
So I think you'll really enjoy the filmmaking aspect of it. You'll probably be 2 to 3 minutes in. You'll be 30 seconds in. You'll be like, what the fuck are these guys getting me to watch? This is the weirdest goddamn movie I ever watched, and it's only going to get weirder. And when you think it's too weird, or it's going to get 10 times weirder, it's the weirdest fucking movie you ever watched. You can always depend on the Japanese.
It sounds great to me. I love it. It sounds great.
So I know we've had you for about an hour.
Sorry. I do want one question.
You were going to say one question.
Probably the same.
Well, I was just going to say if you can talk about anything that you're working on right now, like upcoming projects, because I want to know what's coming out.
So we have some fun things coming up. We shot a movie in Serbia with Shudder, and it's a rock and roll monster movie. So that's coming up. I don't know the release date. It's kind of just been handed in, so it's on the wheels of motion. And Shudder's really cool to us, and we really like them, and they were very cool to help us get this movie out. So that's going to be coming. That's called Hellhole, and it's really fun. And then we're shooting another movie right now. The name is a little up in the air, but the idea is wicked. And so that's what we were shooting today in the cold. So we're always
tuna.
Exactly. This one's there. There's going to be a bunch of canned tunas because there's a shark on the loose, and the shark is really brutal. But once again, it's kind of like, it's like finding the metaphor, and having fun with what's the metaphor. And I love the metaphor on this one. And so we have a bunch, so we're working on that right now. And but Hellhole is coming up first.
Okay, cool.
And that's coming to Shudder, huh?
Yeah.
And we shot with a fun production company over in Serbia, not the funeral home, and it was fun. It was a beautiful experience. We couldn't. It was, they asked us, well, what can we help you do that the Addams Family can't do? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we said, well, we want to do this monster movie, and we could never do that. And they were like, well, let's do that. And so that's what happened.
Okay.
So you worked with Shudder to get that done, and they actually helped you financially. That's awesome. Yes. Now I saw that where The Devil Roams is a Tubi original. Did they provide any money for that movie?
No, that one we made. And
Okay.
because generally, to be honest, like we love just making our movies because then we have our own freedom
Yeah.
artistically and in all ways. And we like to be, we just love the process. So, so far our model is that, on all of our movies, well, except for this one we just did with Shudder that worked out very well. But we just like to make the movies and then shop them. It's more kind of beautiful because me and Toby and Zelda and Lulu, we just like working together.
Actually, now that I think about it, before I ask my last question, another really, oh man, I can't believe we didn't think of this. We should have both thought about this. When you asked us about surreal movies and what we would recommend, actually, I have one for you that you absolutely should watch because this is once again another father-daughter combo.
Ooh.
And the daughter in it is like 3.
Oh yes, this
And
was from
this is
last
like
year.
one of the coolest.
Oh
This actually
yeah,
made my top 10.
both of ours.
Yeah, Where the Devil Roams made her top 10.
And this one also made mine.
I think it would have made my top 20. Sorry, it didn't make my top 10. I loved last year though. And I genuinely loved Where the Devil Roams. Like genuinely.
Oh, thank you.
Like legit. I think it's fantastic.
But this movie.
But this movie is called Moon Garden.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Toby saw it. She thinks it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
like,
it's incredible.
She saw it at a festival and she's like, you gotta see this
Yeah.
movie.
Oh
She
my
said
gosh.
it was shot like just
Oh, it's
class A.
beautiful, and the little girl's acting is like so phenomenal. It's such a beautiful film.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
father-daughter film, and it's this surreal because like it's not much giving much away, but it's like the little girl is in like a coma, and we're seeing through. She's trying to navigate through her head to like get back to her family.
So cool. It's so cool.
God.
And
I
it's
know.
like it's very like it's super artistic
Yeah.
and visually stunning, and you can tell they didn't have a budget like at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still somehow made all of the sets feel like real and fantasy, and it's incredible.
I'll be honest. There's a lot of there's a lot of talk about, oh, this movie didn't have a budget and that movie didn't have a budget. But I'll be really honest with you. Like, I find I've gotten to the place now where I find watching budget movies troublesome. And I love watching no budget movies because they more relate to where I am as a person. Like I don't need I don't need to see every corner of a room lit perfectly. I like it when someone walks into a room and the lighting's a little fucked up, or I can tell that they're actually shooting in the trailer they live in. All these things. It's like I really love that about modern cinema is a lot more people, a lot more independent people can make movies in their environment, and I love watching people in their environment.
Yeah,
for sure. And of course, you have more of a connection with it because you're doing it, and it you understand what's on the other end of that, and this is something because we are a channel that covers lower budgeted films. We pride ourselves on giving most things a chance, and I watched 167 2023 horror films last year for the channel, and of course there's not a ton of studio stuff. There's plenty of independent stuff like your guys' stuff, and even much smaller than your guys' stuff, and some of it is genuinely trash, and but like what I always try to like remind people is that no one ever sets out to make a bad movie, A, but B, like there's real people on the other end of that camera who you're when you're talking about their movie, and I'm not gonna fucking bullshit around. I'm not gonna be like, well, I know the person, or like, oh, I'm sure they had good intentions. I will say that to a degree, but it's like, no, I fucking hated the movie.
We try to be really honest,
but I always do try to remember, like, someone like you is on the other end of the camera, and when we talk to someone like you who is making these smaller films, it's like reminds me of how you're this wonderful person who has such good intention, and you are really trying to put something out there that matters and is important, and if people don't like it, like they should at least respect what you're trying to do, and always remember that, you know, it might not be for them, but as I always try to tell people, no matter what film you think you hated the most, it has its fans. And you know, if it can land with just one or two people, you're successful, even if that person's yourself.
Right.
Well, especially if it's yourself.
Yeah, you want to make something you like, right?
Yeah. You know, we watch a movie. We watch whether it's a Hollywood movie or the smallest independent movie.
Yeah.
And always when it's done, we always look at each other. We always say, "It's hard to make a movie." Now,
Sure.
What did you love about it? And everyone says something that they love about it, and then we'll say, "What did you not like about it?" And then everyone will say, if they found something, they'll say what they didn't like about it. And it's great, especially as filmmakers, because you ask yourself, like, what did they do that I want to do, and what did they do that I don't want to do? Like, how can I? And it's really cool. It's really great that we have all these movies to watch. I got to ask you guys, did you see the movie called The Harbinger?
Yeah. Wait.
I
I was thinking you meant Hellbender down for a second, the special effects
No,
movie.
this is like a movie called The Harbinger, and it was a COVID movie. But
I think so. Didn't we watch this? It's with like it's like with the plague doctor mask or whatever. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Did we watch this?
I don't know if I've seen this one. I don't remember it. I just pulled it up.
It's fun. It's you know, it's an independent movie, but I've really enjoyed it because the concept that I think they accomplished very well is super spiritually nightmarish. And so it's like I love that shit. Like right now I'm really into things like spiritual horror, like I said in the past in this interview. But it's like I'm more scared of that than like somebody chasing somebody down a hallway with a knife. I'm more terrified by like that's why I really enjoyed Talk to Me, because it's like at the last shot of the movie I was like, ooh, that's so good, because that's so awful. Like, you know, it's like exploring the concept of hell, because that basically is the anchor of horror, is you know, the concept of hell. Like, what is hell? And each horror movie brings up some version of hell for us all to look at and be like, yeah, that's terrifying, you know? And
absolutely.
I think The Harbinger is really fun, you know?
No, I didn't see
Yeah,
this
we'll watch this for sure. And you said it was so it was filmed during COVID, or?
Yeah, and and it touches on COVID, which is always dangerous. Like, you always date yourself whenever you take a piece of history and be like, this movie's about a piece of history. So if you can look beyond that, it's I loved it. I think it's really great. Really great. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you. We'll definitely check it out. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool films that were filmed during quarantine, though. We went on like a big kick watching them, and I think it really had people kind of being more creative and you know, seeing what they can do when they're not face to face with people and everything. So it was neat.
Yeah, you take away all the COVID movies, all the bells and whistles were taken away. Like, nobody can have any bells and whistles. No bells and whistles. If you want to create any kind of art, you can't have a bell or a whistle. You know, so I love the stuff that came out then.
Yeah.
You can have a bell or a whistle. You can't have both.
No, you wish. You know what I mean? None of
that. So we definitely have some comments here, but my last question I'll ask you on this is, so while I did really enjoy your last movie, the thing I was actually the most surprised by, because I already kind of understood that you guys were good at the writing and the directing, and I did really like Zelda singing and the music behind it and all that stuff. So I will say, okay, the music actually, because of her singing and the way you shot that did surprise me a bit. But the thing that surprised me by far the most was how good and realistic the gore and kills were. And I was kind of blown away by that, because there's so many films today that I feel like should have that and could have that very easily and don't. and I wasn't expecting Where the Devil Roams to be in my like top 3 of the year when it came to like
The
on-screen
practical
kills,
effects, yeah.
but the practicals are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Do
Thank
you
you.
like who did those? And I hope they're working with you on your next movie.
Absolutely. He's been working with us since The Deeper You Dig, and his name's Trey Lindsay, and he's our 5th family member, and he's a beautiful human being and an amazing artist because he's always up for whatever we want to try. Like now, sometimes we'll say like, we want a horse to explode out of a person. Can you make that happen? And he'll be like, yeah, but he can't. But
He's like, for $1 million.
no. That's the thing. He's just like us. It's
Yeah.
never about money. It's more about let me think about it. Like for example, you want to put a poker through somebody's neck. Okay, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you, and we'll figure out a way to jam a poker through somebody's neck and make it really look like real. And
Yeah.
he's like, and he's a horror artist. He's a horror aficionado. He is. And he's just, I gotta say, on top of everything, this beautiful human being. And so he does all of our horror effects, and him and I usually get together because I love that kind of stuff. And we plan it out, we map it out, we figure out the architecture of how to make it as real as possible, and then we film it, like that. And that's a green screen effect. That like Trey has all these tricks that he does. Sometimes it's we also buy some prosthetics from a guy from Facebook who's really interesting, and we have our mail opened up all the time because like there's arms with bones, and it's just like it's so crazy, the stuff that gets delivered to our house is insane. So we had a lot of fun. We had watched like we had seen Zelda and I really got turned on to body horror with The Sadness. We saw a movie called The
Oh.
Sadness.
Yeah.
And we thought the violence was just so well done. And then we also saw a movie that was super violent and super awful. Not awful movie, but like awful. It makes you feel awful. It's called The Golden Glove. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I know
I
the movie,
haven't.
the boxer.
No,
The guy.
no. This isn't about a boxer. It's about a serial killer in Germany in the like
Oh.
30s or the
Yeah,
maybe
the
the
guy
40s.
has like he has like he has like a boxer face. His
Yes,
face is,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry, that's what I'm
Sorry,
saying.
sorry.
No, you're
Uh,
good. I know what you're talking about.
so that movie, we watched it and we were like, "Holy shit, that is
Wait a
so
minute, is
beautiful."
that the one? Shit, I'm pretty sure I saw it. Isn't that the one where in the end, like he's trying to like walk away from the apartment, and the guys like follow him around, the cops like stop him outside of the apartment, and they keep going up to his apartment from the bar, and that girl's like trying to get out of his apartment, and he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's that one. Okay, I thought
Yes.
so. I saw that one. It's
Most people hate it, but what we
because he's
loved
having
about
like a
it,
romance, sort of. Oh
uh,
God, it's like sort of starting to kind of come back to me, but I remember them going back. He like goes down to the bar and he brings this girl back up to his like really shitty apartment, and then like,
but they're
oh
not
God, I
girls.
saw it.
They're older drunk women. Like
Yeah.
it's a story
Yes.
about
Okay.
a
Yeah.
serial killer in
Right.
Germany,
He's
and
like he beats the shit out of one of them, and she's
it
like, yeah, I remember this. God, I
and
can't
so like
fully remember.
that particular scene, Zelda and I watched at Telluride Horror Show, and we were like, first of all, we were amazed because we were like, how did they do that? Because she was genuinely an older lady. It wasn't like some stunt,
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And we were
They
like,
just
wow,
beat the
this
shit
is
out
like,
of an old lady.
it was crazy. It was really crazy. And the whole thing was just crazy. And it was so dirty. And like, it was like when we were done, we were both like, oh my God, I feel like I smell like a cigarette and a shot of schnapps. Like, and it was just so well done. So anyway, that's the long answer of we really wanted to show kind of brutal stuff happen, but
Yeah.
we needed to weigh it out with like either humor or love. Like everything is weighed. It wasn't like, here, we're just gonna jam a poker through somebody's neck for no reason. It was like there was a reason. It was very important of why we shoved a poker through this person's neck, and it was to
Yeah.
show her ignorance, and also to show his blind love, literally, for
Yeah.
this woman. So all those things are really important. We think that like we love the art of violence, but we do think that
Mm.
like we like it to have a reason, a
Yeah.
weight,
Sure.
Yeah.
a counterweight.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was great stuff. Really great stuff.
Thank
And
you so
yeah.
much. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
We loved. That's nice of you.
Now, with Zelda going off to school, is she gonna be in your films less and less? Like, is she gonna appear in Hellhole and whatnot? Or
She's actually not in Hellhole, but
Mm.
oh wow,
Lulu actually wrote the script for Hellhole. So
Oh,
oh
cool.
wow, she's
yep,
getting more involved.
there you
When
go.
she
Well,
wants,
she wanted
right?
to. I was like, "Do you want to
Yeah.
write this script?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I had the idea, and she wrote it. And then Toby,
How cool.
Yeah, because she had
yes,
a real small part in when Where the Devil Roams.
yeah,
It's
because she
funny,
was, yeah,
you guys. I keep mixing up your title with When Evil Lurks.
Yeah, I've done
and
that a few times
I've done
too.
it so many times.
When the devil
Yeah,
roams, where evil lurks.
When the Devil Roams.
Yeah.
I fuck their titles up all the time and mix them
Well,
together.
you
And
do not know how many. Well, fuck it. I know that that's like your number one movie, so you should fuck
yeah,
it up whenever you say what your number one
I
movie
know.
is.
You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
please,
my number one
please
movie is Where
confuse
the
my
Devil
vote.
Roams. Wait, well, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
They're like,
but
oh, that's what he said. Cut it off right
that's
there.
right. That's what he's like. I'll just get that quote and we'll put it on. You know.
Right?
Um,
Sinister Cinema Reviews says.
but you know, that's the whole thing about zeitgeist, right? It's like uh, things come in waves. Like we all think alike. It's the hive
Yeah.
mind kind of. Like you don't know how many times we've been like, oh, this is going to be a great title for a movie, and then suddenly like every 2022 movie has got that title, you know, and you're
Yeah.
working on it, and you're like, oh shit, now I gotta fucking
Yeah.
come up with a new name. So, you know, there's like this thing going on right now about, you know, When Evil Lurks, Where the Devil Roams. All these things are really interesting. I love that stuff.
Yeah. It's
This
really
for some
interesting.
reason happens with movies. I don't know
Yeah.
what that is, but there's this kind of like for instance, it was maybe like 3 years ago, maybe there was like 3 horror films that came out that year that were called Alone.
Mm.
And it was like, what the
Well, yeah,
fuck
because
is
we were
going
all
on?
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
that makes sense.
I think it was pre-COVID, but regardless, it was super weird. It was like Alone, which one? And then you'd
Yeah.
always have to be like Alone, the one with the girl in the car, which actually
Yeah.
that was a great movie. But it was weird. There were so many. And then also, this is something that happens in Hollywood all the time, is that they'll have 2 movies based on like the same thing come out at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like really close together, like when they did Tombstone and Wyatt Earp,
Mm.
or when
Right.
they did like recently they did that Love Death show with Elizabeth Olsen, playing the woman who killed her lover's wife. It was a true story back in the early 80s, in 1980 actually. Friday the 13th 1980 actually, which is weird because that's the exact date of the Friday the 13th movie. But then they also made the one with Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
But they were made them at the exact same time and released them at the exact same time on the exact same story. But that's a story that happened in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's not like they've had 40 years to make that story into a film. But for some reason, Hollywood decided to make them at the exact same time and release them the exact same year. Super
Yeah.
weird stuff.
Yeah.
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 So
Sometimes I think it's business. Sometimes I think it's zeitgeist. I think I'm using that word right, but I'm not sure. Time ghost, right?
anytime I hear zeitgeist, I just remember the old conspiracy theory video on like
Oh, yeah.
9/11 conspiracy and stuff like that. Did you never probably saw Zeitgeist?
No.
Going back real quick before we get off, just so we acknowledge everyone.
Yeah, thank you for the chat,
Yeah,
for everyone
thanks,
that's been
man.
hanging out.
We usually
and-
go an hour for people, and then we don't want to hold you too long. I know you're a busy man killing
Yeah.
people on set. We've got all right. I still need to check out Hellbender. You need to check out all their art films, okay? You see the Addams Family, you press play. The old show, their films, whatever. You just to be sure.
Yeah, just to be safe.
It's 1D though, not 2. Let's see. When Evil Lurks was so good. Yeah, most people in here agree. So this is in reference to when we were talking about the age that people got into it. He says 6, he says 5. So as I said, a lot of people agree that that's like when they started was that young age. I don't remember how horror even being a part of my life. My earliest memory is of wrecking my tricycle. I tasted my blood to see if I was a vampire.
You gotta
Were you?
Sure. You gotta check.
I mean, if you were in the
And it
sunlight,
tasted
which
like
I'm assuming
iron.
you're
I
riding your
remember
tricycle.
my first taste of blood. I was like, man, this tastes like metal.
Yeah, like why are these pennies right now in my mouth?
I hope it was
exactly.
your blood, not the blood of your victim. In the 1980s, R meant recommended.
Yeah.
That is correct. It still is, isn't it? I don't know if my parents let me watch horror, but my siblings definitely did. I mean, that's definitely the case. I think most people's stories, and that's like part of it, though. That's like part of growing up is because, as I said, like the therapist and people are, you're gonna really fuck the kids up, and it's like everyone has that memory.
Yeah.
Like everyone that we have that kind of like communal experience of like that first horror movie we saw as a kid fucked us up beyond belief, but we're all fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone's like, I saw The Exorcist when I was 6, and then I fucking started stabbing myself in the pussy with a crucifix. Right? Like we're all inspired by the things that we watch. I mean, I watched Halloween when I was 5, and I was hooked for life. You know, you gotta try it out.
I remember Frankenstein too. Frankenstein really affected me when I was really young. I think that's the first thing I saw when I was really young that scared me was Frankenstein.
Can you let them in? So the Addams family, just one of the Addams family here. Now you get to meet the Smith family. My kids are about to walk in. Here they are.
All right.
What's going on, ladies? And that's Mom back there. You're on break. She's got a roll. So
awesome.
Say hi to John.
What's up?
They're making an appearance real quick. That's
nice
Mom
to see you guys.
Yeah. The kids are staying, Mom's. Yeah, okay. So this was in reference to our conversation earlier about horror. He said maybe horror is here to stay, but it could be subgenres that come and go. Yeah, of course. I mean, horror is always going to be here to stay. It's just whether or not it's appreciated as an art that is seen to be worthy, right?
Right.
That's always what it comes down to, because it's always like, you know, cacophony. It's like people stick their nose up at horror, and you know, because I'm a hairdresser and I've been for 20 years, and when I talk to people about it, like I usually get that sentiment of like, oh my god, I hate it. Like it's I basically like I wish it didn't exist, and you know. And then when I ask them their relationship with it, which I've always found to be kind of weird, is their relationship with the genre is so limited, but they have such a strong like aversion to it. They find it so awful, but they have no actual experience with it at all, because they'll be like, I saw The Exorcist when I was 5 and I've never watched a horror movie again. We're talking to somebody who's almost 60 years old or something, and then they'll be like, you know, oh my god, I hate the genre. I'm like, you don't know the genre. Like you made this assessment of a genre when you were a child, and you still hold it to this day. Like as I always say, like extrapolate that with anything else. Imagine being like, I tasted pizza when I was 5 and it was disgusting, so I've never eaten it since. And it's like, you might want to try it again. You might like it. You don't know. You know, it's weird that people are so like, they get this like, because it scares them and they don't like that feeling, and they're like, that's it, never again. So
yeah, that's like any art. Like if it's any art. Anytime someone just has a blanket rule, I'm always like, you know, all right, you know, I don't like abstract art. Okay. You know, that's crazy talk, you know.
But what's funny though is if you really actually push on them a bit, because I'll say something like, "Oh, you didn't see Jaws," and they'll be like, "Oh, I like Jaws," and then you know, and then I'll go down the list, and they'll say, "This is always 100% of the time." They'll say, "Well, when I say horror, I mean slashers."
Yeah. Well, okay.
And it's like, hey, The Exorcist isn't a slasher, but you know, whatever. They always think slashers mean horror. It's a super weird thing. I don't want to hold you up too much more. I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
No, you guys are awesome. Thank you. This has been super fun. I like it. I like the free form. It works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm
Not
sure you've done other
scripted and-
interviews.
Yeah, we like to keep it pretty casual. So
Oh hell yeah. We're
yeah.
Well,
just here to
hopefully
hang
we'll
out.
get to talk about our next one. And we'll get
Yeah,
to see,
please.
You, know,
If
you were talking about Lulu, so we can put Lulu on the grill. She lives in
Yeah.
Scotland now, but maybe the next
Oh,
time
wow.
we get together, we
Wow.
can talk about hopefully Hellhole, and we can get Lulu from Scotland, and we'll see what she has to say.
That would be so cool.
Unless we don't like Hellhole, then you'll never hear from us again.
No.
You'll be like, Jason, where are you, man?
Just get us on and roast us. You know, this is the hot seat. Like, oh my god, you know, why did that?
I'll be like,
suck so
man.
bad? Yeah.
I'll be like, man, don't let Lulu ever write again.
Aw.
Yeah,
You guys are doing good without her.
We'll see whether you pull that off with Lulu. Lulu is a very tough girl. Like, I would love to see you try that.
Aw.
She'll be holding my toes to the fire, literally.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. So we got the thumbs up from everybody here. Wonderful
Yes.
stream, great stream. See, I got to stroke my ego real quick.
You guys,
but
thanks.
no, thank you so much, John, for coming on and hanging out with us and talking horror. I do hope to get the whole fam on at one point in the future.
For sure.
So tell
We would love
Toby
that.
we missed her. We were really looking forward. We actually didn't want you. We wanted her.
No.
Well,
And
'cause
we
you're
had to
smart.
settle for you.
You're smart.
No.
That means you're smart.
I was like, where's the talent?
Oh.
Exactly. And the
Zelda
brains. Where's the talent and the brains and the good looks? Basically, I think all you got was a fart.
No, it was super cool.
Now I got to ask you about your dick, so that was good.
Yeah, well, that's always fun. Yeah, you got.
That
the
was
dick.
an important question.
Yeah,
Yeah. We were like, we
that
wanted
was
to
what
know.
everyone. It was bated breath here. So all right, guys.
Thanks
Thanks for
everyone.
joining us, and we'll see you next time.